Hello, I'm John Cunningham. Welcome to the RedChip Money Report. For those of you new to the show, RedChip is an investor relations, media, and research firm focused on emerging growth companies. Our unique platform combines global multimedia with traditional investor relations, reaching investors around the world. Today on the show, you'll see interviews with executives of 3 public companies. First, Nemaura Medical, stock symbol NMRD on the NASDAQ. Nemaura is developing innovative, non-invasive, and affordable continuous glucose monitoring solutions for people with diabetes or pre-diabetics. Recent interim data bodes well for an FDA submission in 2019, and a CE mark for approval in Europe is expected in the near term. Up second is Opsens, duly listed on the OTCQX as well as the Toronto Stock Exchange. Opsens is developing advanced fiber optic measurement systems for both medical and industrial applications. The primary focus in the near term is the development of cardiovascular medical devices, which is a $1 billion opportunity. Learn more in our exclusive interview later in the show. Then up third is MamaMancini Holdings, stock symbol MMMB on the OTCQB. MamaMancini's is a marketer and distributor of a growing line of mostly Italian pre-prepared food items. Their products are available in leading grocers nationwide, and growth has been in the double digits, and further expansion is on the way. Learn more when we speak with the CEO. Now, before we get to our first interview, our quote of the week, and it comes from Chapter 3 of Small Stocks, Big Money. The most important lessons I've learned working in the microcap space is that winners are winners and losers are losers. Stick with the ones that are working, and don't make the mistake of exiting too early. This quote comes from Michael Corbett, featured in Chapter 3 of Small Stocks, Big Money, a book of exclusive interviews with some of the biggest players in the microcap space. If that's something that interests you, pick up your copy today on our website or at Amazon. Now let's get to our first interview today. It's with Faz Chowdhury. He's the CEO of Nemaura Medical. Let's go to the interview.
Faz, thanks for being with us today.
My pleasure.
I want to start with a brief overview of your company. You have a very innovative technology focused on the global diabetes market. So give us an overview and tell us where your company is today.
Absolutely. So we've developed what is a non-invasive continuous glucose monitoring platform, which is in the form of a small patch which communicates with a mobile phone. And where we are today is that we've completed clinical studies for CE mark approval in Europe, and that CE mark review is currently in progress. And we've also commenced clinical studies for a future FDA submission, which we anticipate in the coming months.
Faz, what makes your product different than your competitors?
So there are a number of aspects, and first and foremost, our device is non-invasive. So whereas all of our competitors have some form of sensor that is inserted inside the skin up to 1 millimeter, and you're left essentially with an open wound, our sensor sits only directly on top of the skin, so you do not have that invasive element. Secondly, it is highly flexible, therefore you can wear it when you choose, once a day, multiple times a week, etc. You're empowered essentially. You don't have to be wearing it all the time. And then from a price perspective, we expect it to be far more competitive. But importantly, in light of the flexibility, what it does is it opens up a far bigger market who can now actually benefit from this system. And by market, what I mean is that most of the current invasive devices are used by type 1 insulin dependence or type 2 insulin requiring patients, whereas here, now we can open up to the broader diabetic population, which is another 75% of the market, plus the pre-diabetic market.
It is also, understand the technology, this is also a device that can be used for patients with that are still pre-diabetic that could become diabetic, which opens up a very large market opportunity, correct?
That's absolutely right. So if we take the US as an example, whilst you have around 25 million diabetics, there are in the region of 50 to 60 million pre-diabetics, and most of them don't actually even know. And of course, the ideal way to measure that and to establish whether or not you potentially are pre-diabetic is to get a glucose profile over the course of a day or several days to see how different challenges actually impact your ability to maintain a consistent glucose profile. So absolutely, we expect our device to cater for both the pre-diabetic market as well as the diabetic market.
And again, you have CE mark approval coming, or you have it now, today?
So when we developed the technology, we did it on an iterative basis. So approximately 2 years ago, we received a CE mark approval on a device which was a wristwatch format. So since then, we've updated that into a very small unit, which has been miniaturized, and now it adheres directly to the arm, for example. And that is a device that is currently undergoing CE review, and we anticipate that the approval should come through in a matter of weeks.
And again, for our viewers, CE mark approval is approval for Europe. How big is the market in Europe?
So I would say that the market in Europe as a whole is equivalent to the market in the US. The US constitutes approximately 40% of the world market, and approximately 40% is constituted by Europe, and then the rest of the world. So Europe is a significant market. And initially, we will be looking at launching in the UK. And of course, the advantage is that the CE mark will allow us to launch throughout all the major European territories.
Now, talk to us about the essential value proposition. The stock's currently, as of the date of this recording, about a 430 million market cap. But what's the essential value proposition for investors? Why should they consider owning your stock today?
The key thing to bear in mind is that where we are today as a company, we have almost reached that inflection point where the technology is about to be launched onto the market. And we are not looking at raising investment, for example, to do further research and development at this stage. This is about commercializing product. This is about getting product out there to the market, devising marketing strategies for the various territories. So it is probably the most exciting stage of development that a technology company could reach for an investor to be interested. So I think the value proposition is quite significant in that regard.
Well, talk to us about your business model. How do you actually make money?
Absolutely. So ultimately, it's down to sales of the devices in various territories. And the way we intend to do that is that initially we've got the UK market where we'll be launching with our licensee. And then we have a joint venture partnership, which is an equal joint venture partnership throughout Europe. And we will be launching in those territories. But fundamentally important is that we believe for what the technology offers, there is a significant possibility that this product will be reimbursed by healthcare providers, like the National Health Service in the UK, for example. And that is our target, that ultimately we intend to get the product reimbursed on the basis of the benefits it will afford patients, both in the short term and in the long term, by way of reducing complications. And therefore, the revenue sources we anticipate to be quite significant from that.
What are some of the key milestones you expect to achieve over the next 6 to 12 months? We talked about commercialization in Europe, but what else can we expect?
So by the end of this calendar year, we're anticipating CE approval and launch in the UK market. Within a few months of that, so within 6 months from now, we anticipate launching in all the major territories in Europe. And those are essentially Germany, France, Italy, and Spain, for example. And then within 6 to 12 months, we expect to launch into the Middle East and also Australia. Now, the significance of those territories is that they will accept the CE approval as, if you like, the basis of registration in those territories, as opposed to having to go through the whole registration process again, as we would have to do in the US, for example. So those are our key milestones over the coming year. Also, by the end of the first quarter of 2019, we expect to have completed the studies, the clinical studies that we have now commenced for the FDA submissions, and we intend to submit also for the FDA approvals by then.
So that's the U.S. clinical trials.
That's correct.
And what is the main trial site for those trials?
So the trials are being conducted in multiple territories. So currently there is a 525 patient day study that is ongoing in Europe, which will support the PMA or the 510K application. And we are also in the process of starting trials in 2 other centers in the US itself.
So to be clear, we should see European approval shortly, and then we have a clinical trial going on that would lead to an FDA approval and open up the US market for you, correct?
That's correct.
And you also recently published interim data for SugarBeet, which is the actual product. So talk to us about this interim data that was just published on the product, which is called SugarBeet.
Absolutely. So as part of the clinical study, there are 2 arms to it. One arm which is where patients come into the clinic, they have a catheter inserted, and we remove blood samples to compare with our device. And the other arm of the study is where the patients take the device home and they use it in a home setting. And of course, the home setting is by far the most challenging setting. And the initial cohort of 25 patients, we took the data from that and we compared it to an independent study that was published recently by US-based researchers. And they compared the home-based data taken from devices the likes of the Abbott Libre and the Dexcom, and they published it in comparison to the clinical data that these companies have published. And what it shows is that the average deviations are actually slightly higher in the home setting because it is a more challenging environment. And therefore, we thought, actually, if there's any data to present, the home data is by far the most challenging. And for that reason, we presented the home data. And what it shows is that the accuracy levels we're achieving is actually comparable to the likes of the Dexcom and the Abbott Libre.
In summary, why should investors take an interest in Nemaura today?
So what we believe is that we've actually developed a device that meets an unmet clinical need, and it is far more flexible than anything that is currently on the market. Therefore, it is opening up a much greater proportion of the market to be able to utilize and benefit from these systems.
Well said. Faz, thanks so much for being with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Now, to get more information on Nemaura Medical, visit nmrdinfo.com. You'll see research reports, fact sheets, presentations, and the latest videos. It's all free, and you can even subscribe to email alerts to stay on top of the latest news. Now, our second interview today is with Louis Laflamme. He's the president and CEO of Opsens. Let's go to the interview.
Louis, thanks for being with us today.
Real pleasure, Dave.
Let's begin the interview today with giving us an overview of your technology and your product and your service platform.
Well, Opsens is a cardiovascular company, so a company in the medical device, and we are bringing to this market a very unique fiber optic sensing technology. So what we do, we use light to measure parameters such as pressure and temperature, and our most important activity is measuring pressure in coronary blockage assessment. So we are helping physicians in doing an assessment about blood circulation around the heart, which is a key factor that can lead to heart attack. So with our device, physicians can really know if a blockage is significant or not. And if it is significant, they can also use our device, which is a guide wire that includes our sensing technology, to deliver the stent over it, a stent being a device that will somehow eliminate this blockage.
How is your product different from competitors?
Well, our product is a product that is having a great mechanical performance, so very easy to handle into the human body, and also very easy to use if you want to deliver a stent over it. We are also providing what we think is the most accurate device in the market, which is a crucial thing in the context where you are using pressure measurement to make critical decisions for patients. On top of this, we are bringing to the market the choice, so they can use also Opsens algorithm to use pressure differently, still to make a coronary blockage assessment. And at the end, we also, when you combine all those advantages with our fiber optic sensing technology, physicians can select the workflow that they want. So they can disconnect the device, reconnect the device, assess multiple lesions using the same device during a procedure.
What's the essential value proposition for investors today? Why should they consider owning your stock today?
Today, we have 3 analysts covering the stock of Opsens, Paradigm Capital, RBC, and Ladenburg Thalmann. All of them have target price of, let's say, $1.50 US a share, while the stock is trading at 65 cents today. Why is that? Well, we have very strong key value drivers in front of us, being revenue growth, innovation with new product. We also expect to see publication of clinical data on the use of our cardiovascular device. And in addition to all of that, our optical sensing technology is also used in industrial application that can generate value for shareholders in aerospace and semiconductor, which are high growth market.
Let's talk about the business model. How do you make money?
Well, when you use the OptoWire, so the cardiovascular device, it's fairly simple, is that we are selling to a hospital or distributor that would sell to hospital. And in our case, the device can be used only on one patient. So it's a single-use device. Each time there is a procedure where they want to assess coronary blockage, they will take another device. So the way we see this is that when you develop new customer, it may have a cost to develop this customer, but after that, you generate revenue over time.
In the third quarter, revenue was up 31% and margins were up. What factors contributed to this growth?
Well, having what we consider the best product on the market is certainly helping there. There is still a lot of room for growth for us in the context where we own about 3% market share today. So what fueled the growth in third quarter was growth in cardiovascular measurement application, also in other medical applications that are using Opsens sensing technology, and also growth in industrial. And if there is one thing that should be reminded to investors is that in the third quarter, we saw again growth in the cardiovascular application in the US market. And that's a market today that is not necessarily very significant in terms of revenue for Opsens, but that you will see growing very significantly in the next few years in the context of the US market being the most important market in cardiovascular application.
What's the overall market size for your product?
The market is more than $500 million today. The experts are seeing this market going at least to $1 billion market. And on top of this, we see physicians, cardiologists working on new application for device that measure pressure to help physician making decisions. So we think it's a fantastic market opportunity. The fit with our technology is also great. Fiber optic is the future because of accuracy and size and easiest, way easy to use in the market.
What are some corporate milestones you hope to achieve over the next 6 to 12 months?
In the next 12 months, you will see 3 new products being launched. So a new version on the OptoWire, new version on the display unit that will display the information to physician. Also a new algorithm called DPR that will be launched in the market. So this will be a good value driver. Financial results, you will see an improvement in revenue growth. You will see an improvement also in gross margin in the context where we have a clear plan to decrease the cost of goods sold of our device. And the third value driver will be around US clinical data that will be published on the use of Opsens device. Today we have, we have data or publication talking about accuracy of Opsens device being the best in Europe and Japan. And we also we want to release some data on that in US. We have a clinical registry running right now with Columbia Hospital in New York, which is a very well renamed institution to perform such activity.
I want to sum up today. Again, what's the essential value proposition for investors? You sort of highlighted some of the major points in the previous answer. But again, I know you have 3 analysts covering the stock with much higher target prices than it's currently trading. But to sum up for us again, why should investors own your stock today?
Well, cardiovascular field is the place where you want to be. Very strong growth. Opsens is having what we think the best product in the market. And we are taking the benefit from investment that we did in the past in distribution channels. And on top of that, you will see even more growth in the US market. Not only in coronary blockage market assessment, but also other medical applications that are using Opsens technology. One example of this is a publicly known customer called Abiomed, ticker being ABMD. They are using Opsens sensing technology in their product.
Louis, thank you so much for being with us today.
Real pleasure.
Now, to get more information about Opsens, visit OPSSFinfo.com. See research reports, fact sheets, presentations, and the latest videos. It's all free, and you can even subscribe to email alerts to stay on top of the latest news. Now, our third interview today is with Carl Wolf. He's the CEO of MamaMancini Holdings. Let's go to that interview. Carl, welcome to the show.
John, thanks for having me.
Carl, MamaMancini's is a marketer and a distributor of authentic, home-style, all-natural Italian meatballs, meatloaf, stuffed peppers, and lasagna. Let's start the interview with an overview of the business and what makes you unique.
Well, our products are all natural, as you know. They're clean. Best of all, they're reasonably priced, and they're prepared fresh right now in the supermarkets and could be in a whole number of other places as well. The trend today is toward products that are higher quality in taste and easy to prepare. So we meet today's lifestyles. Our competition tends to sell commodity-based products, a lot of artificial ingredients. Also, our products are very high in protein and have a very positive nutritional profile.
Now, Carl, what's the essential value proposition? Why should investors take an interest in MamaMancini's today?
Well, because today we projected record sales and hopefully record profits this quarter. And going forward, we think we'll have an acceleration in business, and we're very leveraged to get higher profits. And the market doesn't value us anywhere near that level. So we're talking about something happening in the very short run.
MamaMancini's is expecting record sales and strong profits for the remainder of the year. What's driving this success, Carl?
Existing customer business, which is increasing in a number of customers, volume per store, but also a lot of new business. We have a number of new authorizations coming into place this fall. We expect a continuation of additional new authorizations through the spring, and our goal is to get to around a $50 million run rate by the spring. And if that happens, we're shooting for an EBITDA of around $10 million.
Carl, can you discuss some of the options being considered in your discussions with Akin Bay Company and Kernick Advisory Group Company?
Sure. Well, we've had a number of inquiries as to financing, investments, acquisitions, a whole host of options for the company. We think today is a very good time. The economy is very strong. Valuations for our sphere of the business are very high. Valuations have been as high as 5 times sales and as high as 30 to 40 times EBITDA. So we think it's a very good time to look at what our options are, make a good decision.
Back to the operations a little bit. Please discuss your manufacturing plant expansion. How does this impact your business operations?
We believe that we can now handle $50 to $65 million in volume under the right product mix. So it gives us the capacity to handle the additional volume, which we didn't have before. Also, we will have significant plant efficiencies as the business goes forward.
Carl, how big is the market opportunity for your product lines? How much of this market do you think MamaMancini's can capture over the next 3 to 5 years? And what regions are you in?
Well, we're mainly on the East Coast of the United States. We have a very, very small presence on the West Coast, less than 5% ACV. We just hired a VP of sales for the West Coast. He's starting to make some really good inroads. So we think we can move that up to the 50 to 60% ACV within the next year. But much more exciting than that is all the opportunities for our company. Beside moving from 30% of all supermarkets across the country to hopefully 70 to 80% in the next 2 to 3 years, it's also opportunities in food service, which is just as large as the supermarket industry, convenience stores, which is 300,000 locations, additional club stores, and going into other stores such as drugstores. Walgreens is one of the largest sellers of food in the United States. So with all that in hand, we think we could be a several $100 million business, earning somewhere close to 20% EBITDA.
Now to recap, what's the main takeaway for investors? Why should they own your stock today?
Well, our valuation today is $23 million. We think we're going to be at a run rate of, or hope to be at a run rate of $50 million by the spring. We hope our EBITDA, if that happens, will be somewhere around $10 million. Our gross profit is around 35-36% now, going to 40%. Makes us a very, very valuable business. As we mentioned, recent transactions in the industry have been at up to 30 to 40 times EBITDA and 3 to 5 times sales. So we think if you do the math and figure it out, we think the stock is very undervalued, and we think that this is happening in the very near future or is in the process of happening. So it'll just be a matter of time until we realize this. Also, in the event we don't do any strategic alternative, we plan to uplist to NASDAQ in the near future.
Carl, thanks for being on the show today. We look forward to hearing more from you and MamaMancini's in the future.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much.
Now, to get more information about MamaMancini Holdings, visit MMMBinfo.com. See research reports, fact sheets, presentations, and the latest videos. It's all free, and you can even subscribe to email alerts to stay on top of the latest news. Now let's recap the 3 public companies we met with today. First, Nemaura Medical, trading on the NASDAQ. Recent interim data bodes well for an FDA submission in 2019, and a CE mark approval for Europe is expected in the near term. Learn more information about Nemaura at NMRDinfo.com. Then Opsens, duly listed on the OTCQX and the Toronto Stock Exchange. The primary focus in the near term is the development of cardiovascular medical devices, which is a $1 billion opportunity. Learn more about Opsens at OPSSFinfo.com. And finally, you learned about MamaMancini Holdings, stock symbol MMMB on the OTCQB. Now, management is focused on adding multi-million-dollar accounts, lowering operating expenses, and expanding gross margins. With a proven ability to execute combined with expanding distribution channels, MamaMancini's is well positioned to grow in the quarters ahead. Visit MMMB Info and sign up for news alerts to be one of the first to learn of the latest news. Now, as a reminder, these stocks are for your speculative money. Gains can be significant, but you must be prepared for the downside. Clients on this show may sometimes pay us in stock, and while you're buying, we may be selling. You can read our full disclosures at RedChip.com. And if you're the CEO of a public company and you're interested in participating in this show, give us a call at 1-800-REDCHIP or submit a message on our website. Thanks for being with me. I'll see you same time next week.